Morning in the small apartment begins not with an alarm clock, but with a cough, a muffled, throat-rending sound. It comes from my mother's bedroom. Mia opens her eyes. She's no longer asleep. She's listening. One coughing fit is followed by a second, a third. Then there's silence. But it's a bad silence. Heavy, wheezing breathing can be heard in it. Mia gets out of bed. She walks across the cold floor to her mother's room. Ella is lying on the bed. Her black, wavy hair is scattered across the pillow. Her face looks gray, and her eyes are shining from the fever. "Mom?" Mia says quietly. Ella tries to smile. It doesn't work out well. She tries to prop herself up on her elbows. The bed creaks, but Ella barely moves. She falls back onto the pillow. "I'm fine, honey," Ella croaks. "I'm just a little dizzy. I'll get up in a minute." But she doesn't get up. She closes her eyes as if gathering strength. Mia looks at her mother's hands. They lie on the blanket, weak and helpless. Mia feels a cold lump of dread in her chest. She knows what day it is. It's Wednesday, cleaning day at the big house, at Mr. L's. Mama always says he's the strictest and most important client. He doesn't like being late. He doesn't like it when things go wrong. If Mama misses work, she might get fired. And if she gets fired, Mia doesn't let herself finish this thought. She remembers her mother's conversation with her previous employer. She screamed that she didn't need sick people. Then they ate nothing but pasta and potatoes for a month. The silence in the room grows loud. You can hear every wheezing breath of Mom. Mia stands by the bed and understands. Mom won't go anywhere today. She can't. Mia doesn't say a word. She leaves her mother's room and closes the door. She stands in the narrow hallway, her back pressed against the wall. Her heart beats like a caged bird. Thoughts race through my head. Rent. It's due in 5 days. Groceries. Mom's blood pressure medication. Light. Water. They have no supplies. They have no one to help. Mia looks at her watch. It's 7 in the morning. Mom usually leaves at 7:30. She goes into her room. There's a basket of clean laundry on the floor. Mia finds her mother's work dress there. It's dark blue, plain, without embellishments. She picks it up. The fabric is rough but clean. Then she goes to her small closet. She has no adult clothes, just t-shirts, jeans, a couple of dresses for school. She finds the darkest sweater and the longest skirt. The skirt is still a bit short, but it's better than jeans. Mia undresses. She puts on a skirt and a blouse, then she pulls her mother's dress over it. It hangs on her like it's on a hanger. The sleeves are too long. The hem drags on the floor. She rolls up the sleeves. The dress looks ridiculous now, but at least it's formally workwear. Maid's clothes. She goes to the mirror. A little girl in someone else's dress stands before her. Her full lips are pressed tightly together. Her large eyes look serious and frightened. She needs to do her hair. Her mother always wears her hair in a tight bun at work. Mia takes a hair tie. Her black, wavy hair, just as long as her mother's, is difficult to manage. She gathers it into a ponytail, then twists it into a bun and pins it up. A few strands are sticking out, but overall, it's the same. She looks at her reflection. In her dark dress, with her hair pulled back, she looks older, a little, but her eyes give her away. They're too big, too fearful for a grown woman. Another cough emanates from Mama's room. Mia flinches. The sound drives the last of her doubts away. She can't let Mama go. She can't let them lose this only reliable source of income. The decision has been made. In the darkness of early morning, in the silence of a poor apartment, a 12-year-old girl decides to become an adult. Mia carefully opens the door to her mother's room. Ella is asleep, her breathing hoarse but even. Her mother's work bag is hanging on the chair by the bed. Mia sneaks like a mouse. She picks up the bag. Inside are her keys, a small notebook, and a few cleaning supplies. Mia opens her notebook. There, among the shopping lists, is the gate code. 4 digits. She memorizes them. She writes a note to her mother, a simple one. "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. Sleep well." She leaves it on the kitchen table. She leaves the apartment. The door closes with a soft click. The stairs smell of damp and old paint. Mia goes down to the street. The morning is cold. She wraps herself in her large dress. She knows the way. She sometimes went to meet her mother. A big white house on a hill, in a quiet neighborhood where all the houses are hidden behind high fences. Her legs carry her. She barely feels the cold. Her entire world has narrowed to a single task. Get there, enter the code, get the job done. There's the fence. Tall, made of dark wood. A gate with a metal panel. Mia stops. Her hands start to shake. She takes a notebook out of her bag and checks the numbers again. She goes to the panel. She enters the code with one finger. First number. Second. Each time there is a soft click. Third. Fourth. There's a soft click. The gate slides open a centimeter. Mia pushes it. It's heavy. The girl squeezes inside. In front of her is a garden. Neat paths, bare trees, and a house. Enormous, modern, with huge windows. It seems to Mia like a castle from a fairy tale, cold and silent. It's quiet inside, and empty. The silence of this rich, alien home weighs on her more than any noise. She takes a step down the gravel path. The crunch of gravel is deafeningly loud. Mia freezes, waiting for the door to open and for someone to look at her. But nothing happens. Silence. Emptiness. She's alone here. She's in someone else's life. Now she needs to live it. Mia approaches the back door. She has a key to this door too. Her hand trembles. The key jingles in the lock. Finally, it enters. She turns it. The door opens. Inside, it smells of cleanliness, expensive furniture, and something unfamiliar, alien. It's the scent of another world. Mia enters the spacious kitchen. Everything sparkles. She sets her bag on the floor. At that moment, a sharp, piercing sound breaks the silence. Mia hunches her shoulders. It's the ringing of the cell phone in her mother's purse. She pulls out her phone in a panic. The name Home lights up on the screen. It's their apartment. It's Mom calling. Mia's heart is pounding. She can't help but answer. Mom will worry. But she can't answer with her own voice. The phone rings and rings. Mia takes a deep breath. She presses the answer button and brings the phone to her ear. Hello? Ella's weak, anxious voice is heard. Mia pinches her nose with her fingers. She speaks lower, more harshly, trying to imitate her mother's manner when she's tired. Yes, I'm here, she says into the phone. Her voice sounds strange, false in her own ears. Mia? Where are you? What happened? The mother's voice grows louder, panic waking up. Don't worry, Mom, Mia says, still holding her nose. I went to the store, quickly, you sleep, I'm fine. She hates herself for this lie. Every word burns her lips. Are you sure? You're talking strangely. Ella doesn't give in. Just a bit of a cold, a sore throat. Mia quickly makes up. Everything's fine. Go to bed. I'll be back soon. She hangs up without waiting for more questions. Her palms are sweaty. She looks at the phone as if it were a dangerous snake. The first lie has been told. The bridge has been burned. Now she really is alone in this strange house, and her mother thinks she's at the store. She can't be mistaken. Mia decides to start in the farthest room, just like her mother always did. That way, if the owner is home, she'll hear him and have time to become invisible. She grabs some rags and spray from her mother's bag and walks down the long hallway. The house is even bigger inside than it is outside. High ceilings, expensive paintings on the walls, a carpet so thick you can barely stand it. Mia feels like a Lilliputian in a land of giants. She carefully opens the door to the living room. The room is huge. A whole wall is window. Sofas, armchairs, a fireplace. Everything is perfectly clean. But Mom used to say, dust settles every day, even if you can't see it. Mia starts with the shelves. She carefully removes expensive trinkets one by one. Glass balls, porcelain figurines. She dusts the shelves, then puts each item back in its precise place. She moves slowly, carefully. She's afraid of breaking anything. Suddenly, a sound alarms her. A dull footstep somewhere far away. Then another. Someone is in the house. Mia freezes, holding the porcelain ballerina. She listens. Footsteps are approaching. They are heavy, confident. Not her mother's. Mia's heart is pounding somewhere in her throat. She quietly places the ballerina on the shelf and presses herself against the wall, behind the tall chair. Through the gap between the back and the wall, she can see part of the hallway. A shadow appears in the hallway. Then a person. It is a tall man. He walks slowly. He is wearing a long, dark silk robe. The robe shimmers as he moves. His black hair is neatly styled. He looks straight ahead, his face focused and calm. He passes the open living room door. He doesn't even turn his head in her direction. He simply continues on, to the other end of the house, and disappears into the doorway. A few seconds later, Mia hears a door closing somewhere in the distance. Silence returns. She exhales. Her knees buckle. He didn't notice her. He probably mistook her for his mother, for an ordinary maid doing her job. The first, most terrifying encounter is behind her, but the tension doesn't go away. It's now taut inside her like a string. He's here. He's in the house. And she must work, knowing that he could appear at any moment. After meeting the shadow in the hallway, work becomes 100 times more terrifying. Every creak of the floor, Every distant sound makes Mia shudder. She moves into the study. "This is the most important room," Mom always said. "You have to be especially careful here." On the large wooden shelf behind the desk are not just trinkets, but real antiquities. Small stone figurines, vases with intricate designs. Mia stands on tiptoe to reach the top shelf. She picks up a small bird figurine carved from dark stone. It's heavier than it looks. Mia wipes the area underneath it, then carefully places the bird back. Mia holds a slightly damp cloth in her hands. She picks up the figurine. At that moment, the cloth slips. The figurine slips from her fingers. It all happens in a split second. Mia doesn't think. Her body acts on its own. She drops the rag and makes a sharp movement with her hands downwards, under the falling figurine. The stone man falls right into her palm. The impact is painful, but she doesn't drop it. She freezes, clutching the precious thing to her chest. She stands there for a few seconds, holding her breath. Then, slowly, very slowly, she opens her hand. The figurine is intact. There isn't a chip or a crack on it. Only now does Mia feel her legs tremble and her knees buckle. She sinks to the floor, still clutching the figurine in her hand. She was lucky. One false fall, one blow, and it could have all been over. She would have been fired. Her mother would have found out. Their lives would have fallen apart. She sits on the floor, leaning against the wall, trying to calm her breathing. The fear isn't just somewhere inside her anymore. It's here, in the room, sticky and cold. She realizes she's playing with fire. One awkward movement, and that's it. She carefully places the figurine back in its place. She doesn't touch the top shelf again. She decides to leave it for her mother when she recovers. She catches her breath and continues cleaning, avoiding the most dangerous spots. Her hands no longer tremble. They have become steady and careful. Fear has made her more attentive. By midday, Mia feels drained. Her back aches. Her fingers are weak. She finishes in the office and goes into the next room, a winter garden or something similar. It's filled with plants, and once again has a huge floor-to-ceiling window. As soon as she enters, a chill hits her. The room is much cooler than the rest of the house. Mia shudders. She looks around and sees that one of the upper windows is slightly open. That's where the cold morning air is coming from. Mia doesn't hesitate. At home, when her mother was cold, she always closed the windows. It's her habit. Caring. She goes to the window. It's heavy, but it has a convenient handle. Mia grabs it with both hands and pulls it toward herself. The window closes smoothly and silently, its latch clicking softly. The cold air flow stops. The room gradually becomes quieter, without that slight whistle of a draft. Mia doesn't even consider whether she should do it. She did it. Mom would be cold here. She wipes the windowsill, waters the flowers, which seem a little wilted, and goes out. She doesn't know that the owner of the house, Jin Lee, opens this window every morning on purpose. He likes the fresh, almost frosty air in this room. It helps him think. He hates it when his habits are interrupted. Mia, without realizing it, had just broken one of the house's unspoken rules. She didn't do it out of malice, but out of the kindness of her heart, out of a habit of caring for those who might be cold. This small act would hang in the air of the chilly room like a silent question, and she would receive the answer much later, when she stood in the office with a tray and looked into Mr. L's shocked eyes. Mia turns on the vacuum cleaner in the next room. It's a powerful, quiet machine. She moves it across the carpet, and her thoughts drift slightly from fear. The work becomes almost mechanical. As she moves the vacuum cleaner to clean behind the low sofa, she notices a small rectangular object behind it. Not a speck of dust, but something hard. She turns off the vacuum and bends down. It's a photograph in a simple wooden frame. It must have been lying on the sofa and fallen behind it. Mia picks it up. The photograph shows a boy. He's about 7 or 8 years old. He has black hair and dark eyes. He's smiling broadly, holding a battered soccer ball. He's wearing a simple t-shirt and shorts. The background isn't a wealthy house, but some ordinary street, maybe even a poor neighborhood. Mia turns the frame over. There's nothing on the back. No date, no name. She looks at the boy's smiling face. It's hard for her to imagine that this could be the same stern master of the house, the same man in the silk robe. In the photograph, he looks ordinary, happy and ordinary, like any child in the yard. This discovery has a strange effect on Mia. The image of Mr. L in her mind shifts slightly. He's no longer just the boss, the master, a frightening shadow in the hallway. He was once a little boy with a ball. He probably had his own life, his own problems. She carefully places the photograph on the sofa where it's visible. She thinks he might be pleased to find it. She doesn't know that it's one of the few things Jin El keeps from his past, and that he's deliberately hidden it out of sight, because such memories sometimes get in the way of his current life. Mia turns on the vacuum again, but the image of the smiling boy won't leave her mind. It gives her a little courage. Just a little. The day is slowly drawing to a close. Mia is finishing the last room. Her body is humming with exhaustion. She dreams of nothing more than lying down on her bed at home. Suddenly, the phone in her bag rings again. Mia jumps. She sees home on the screen again. This time, she doesn't pinch her nose. She simply answers in a quiet voice, almost a whisper. "Hello, Mom?" "Mia, where are you?" Ella's voice is weak but clearer. She's been lying there for a while. "I woke up, and you're gone." I'll be there soon," Mia whispers, turning to the wall in the kitchen. "Listen carefully." The mother's voice becomes serious, businesslike. She speaks quickly, in a whisper, as if afraid someone will overhear, even over the phone. "If you're really so there! Important rule. At 8 o'clock in the evening, precisely at 8, you must bring Coco to the master's office. On a silver tray from the buffet in the dining room. The cup is on the second shelf from the left. Milk is heated, but not boiled. No sugar. He hates that. Do you understand?" Mia feels the blood drain from her face. 8 o'clock. Coco. A private meeting. "I understand," she exhales. "Are you sure you can handle it? Maybe you should just leave. I'll come tomorrow and explain everything." Ella's voice breaks into panic again. Mia says too sharply, immediately lowering her voice. "No, Mom, it's almost done. I can handle it. I'll add more tea." She hangs up. Her hands are icy. She looks at the clock on the kitchen wall. It's 7:45. She has 15 minutes. 15 minutes until the most terrible moment of her life. Mia finds the dining room. She finds a sideboard. It's large, made of dark wood. She opens the door. Inside, china and silver gleam. She finds the same silver tray. It's cold and heavy. She finds a cup. It's not a simple one, but thin, almost transparent, with a gold rim. Mia takes it as carefully as if it were a dragon's egg. The slightest false move, and it will break. She places the cup on the tray. The ringing is so soft and clear that it seems deafening to Mia. She freezes, listening for footsteps. But the house is quiet. Now she needs milk. She goes to the kitchen, finds a small saucepan, pours in the milk, turns the stove to the lowest heat. She stands over the stove and watches as the milk slowly heats up. Little bubbles begin to form on the surface. She mustn't let it boil over. Every sound seems treacherously loud to her. The hiss of the stove, the gentle gurgle of milk, even her own breath. She finds herself holding her breath, then exhaling sharply. The milk is ready. She carefully, with trembling hands, pours it into the cup, not to the brim. She leaves some space. Steam rises in a warm stream. She looks at the cup of cocoa on the silver tray. Everything looks right. But that doesn't matter. What matters isn't how the cocoa looks, but who brings it. She picks up the tray. It's even heavier than she thought. She has to hold it with both hands. The cup clanks lightly against the metal. The sound drives her crazy. Mia emerges from the kitchen, tray in hand. The walk to the office seems endless. Every step echoes in the silence of the large house. The tray grows heavier with each passing second. Her wrists begin to ache. She's afraid not of dropping it, but of dropping the cup. This fragile, expensive thing could destroy everything with one resounding thud on the floor. She concentrates on only one thing, carrying the tray evenly. Looking straight ahead, breathing, she approaches the familiar office door. The wood is dark and smooth. The door has a massive handle. Mia stops. She can't put the tray down to knock. Her hands are full. She stands and looks at the door. She needs to knock. But how? Panicked, she makes an awkward movement. She clutches the tray to her chest with one hand, freeing the other. The cup tilts dangerously. Mia freezes. Her heart skips a beat. She straightens the tray. It was too close. She decides differently. She approaches the door and carefully, with the knuckles of her free hand, knocks 3 times. The sound is muffled but distinct. The knock sounded. Now there was no turning back. Mia stood, clutching the heavy tray to her, waiting. Everything inside her had tightened into one tight, painful knot. A voice comes from behind the door. Low, calm, lost in thought. "Come in." It's just one word. But for Mia, it sounds like a death sentence. She does the last thing she can. She takes a deep breath, so her voice won't shake if she has to speak. Then she presses her elbow against the handle. The door is heavy, but it gives way. Mia enters. The office is huge, bathed in the soft light of a desk lamp. Jin Lee sits at a large desk. He's not wearing a robe, but a dark shirt. Papers are spread out in front of him. He's writing something, his brow furrowed in concentration. He doesn't even look at the door, merely gesturing slightly toward the desk. "Put it there," he says, pointing the tip of his pen to the empty corner. His voice is businesslike, distant. He expects the servant to carry out the order and quietly withdraw, as he has done hundreds of times. Mia takes a step, then another. Her legs are weak. She approaches the table. She bends down to set the tray down. Her movements are stiff, uncertain. She is too close. The silver tray touches the table with a soft but distinct thud. This sound, unlike usual, finally makes Jin-El look up from his papers. His hand automatically reaches for the cup. His gaze, following the movement of his hand, rises to the man who brought it. And everything stops. His hand pauses a centimeter from the cup handle. His pen freezes in midair. His eyes, dark and attentive, open wide. He doesn't see his maid, Ella, a tall woman with a tired but mature face. He sees a child, a little girl in a baggy dark dress. He sees her huge eyes, full of animal fear. He sees her plump lips, pressed together with tension. He sees how her hands tremble, still holding the tray. His brain refuses to process this image. In his house, in his office, at 8 o'clock in the evening, there's a strange child with Coco. This doesn't fit into any logical chain. It's a complete, utter glitch in the programming. His eyebrows rise slowly. His mouth hangs slightly open. His entire expression is pure, undiluted, profound bewilderment. He's not angry. He's not even wary. He's so shocked that he can't find a single appropriate response. He just stares. Silence falls over the office. But it's not the silence of peace. It's a thick, dense, oppressive silence. You can hear the expensive clock ticking on the mantelpiece. You can hear the log crackling in the fireplace. You can hear Mia's ragged, rapid breathing. Jin-El doesn't move. He doesn't speak. He continues to stare at the girl, as if trying to mentally transform her back into his maid, or figure out what this hallucination is. Seconds pass. 10, 20. For Mia, each one feels like an eternity. She's still hunched over the table, her arms numb from the weight of the tray, but she's afraid to move. She looks at the floor. She feels his gaze on her. That gaze is heavier than any tray. He's searching her, peeling away layers of alien clothing, looking straight into her soul. She waits for a scream to be heard, for him to jump up, for something terrible to happen. But nothing happens. Only silence. And that fixed, shocked gaze. Elle's head. A joke. A mistake. An attempted robbery. A sick imagination. But his keen mind quickly discards the impossible. Before him stands a child, terrified half to death. And that is the only indisputable fact. Mia can't take it anymore. Her fingers go completely numb. The tray slides off the edge of the table with a sickening clang and falls to the floor. Silverware clatters onto the parquet floor. A cup of cocoa flies off, hits the leg of a chair, and shatters with a crystal clink. Warm brown milk spills across the light wood. The sound of something falling finally breaks the silence, and Jin Lee's stupor. He flinches, but his gaze doesn't turn angry. Something else appears in it. Awareness. The understanding that this situation has gone far beyond a mere disturbance. Mia looks at the shards of an expensive cup and the puddle on the floor. Hot tears roll down her face. It's over. She's ruined everything. Everything. Now, it's definitely over. The sound of shattered glass fades. The air is filled with the scent of cocoa and dust from a fallen tray. Mia stands over the puddle, hunched over, sobbing silently, her shoulders shaking. Jin-El looks at her. He looks at the broken cup, the milk on the floor, the frightened child. His whole appearance is one of focused, intent attention. He slowly pushes his chair back and stands up. He doesn't shout. He doesn't slam the table. He doesn't even raise his voice. He comes closer and stops 2 steps away from her. His shadow falls over Mia. "Where is Ella?" he asks. His voice is quiet, completely quiet. It's even, almost toneless. There's no anger or irritation in it. There's only a cold, clear demand for the truth. And this quiet evenness is 100 times more terrifying than his shouting. It's the voice of a man accustomed to being obeyed at the first word, a voice that conveys power and authority. Mia can't answer. The words stick in her throat like a lump, mixed with tears. She only shakes her head, sobbing. Jin-El waits. He doesn't repeat the question. He simply stands and looks at her, oppressive with his silence and that quiet, expectant gaze. He gives her time to compose herself, but not too much. The silence and that look break Mia completely. The protection of her strange dress and tied-up hair crumbles to dust. Before him stands simply a small, frightened girl. She's sick, Mia blurts out through her tears. Her voice breaks, thin and childish. Badly. She couldn't get up. At all. She raises her tear-stained face to him, and the words pour out in a stream, getting confused and interrupting each other. We can't. If Mom gets fired, there won't be anything to pay the rent with. It's due in 5 days. And we don't have. I got scared. I thought, if I do everything like she does, no one will notice. I tried so hard. Forgive me about the cup. I'll pay. Someday. She talks about unpaid electricity bills, about her mother's cold, about the fear of hunger. She talks about seeing her mother's weakness in the morning. Her story is simple and terrifying in its ordinariness. This is not a story of heroism. It is a story of the simple, primal fear of being left on the street. Jin-El listens. He doesn't interrupt. His face remains inscrutable, but his eyes never leave hers. He listens not as a master enraged by deception, but as someone gathering information, facts. There's no lie in her halting words, only desperation. When Mia falls silent, completely exhausted, and her head bowed, the room is silent again. But it's different now. The weight of what she's said hangs in it. Jin-El slowly turns and walks back to his desk. He doesn't look at Mia. He picks up his own phone. His movements are precise, measured. Mia watches him in horror. She thinks he's calling the police, or his own people, to deal with the brazen liar and her ailing mother. He finds a number in his address book and dials it. He brings the phone to his ear. Mia freezes, sensing the end. He waits for an answer. Several rings pass. Ella, he says into the phone. His voice is still calm, but now there's a slight, businesslike, inquiring quality to it. He pauses, listening. Mia can make out faint, raspy sounds coming from the phone's speaker. It's her mother's voice. She's saying something, apologizing, coughing. Elle says, and after a few seconds, his gaze briefly stops on Mia. Don't worry. Get well soon. He hangs up. He doesn't say goodbye. He just puts the phone on the table. Now he knew everything. He had heard the weakness and illness in Ella's voice with his own ears. He had heard an apology, not a calculated lie. The picture had finally come together. His hard, focused expression changes. The muscles around his eyes and mouth soften just a millimeter. It's almost imperceptible. But the icy, puzzled shockwave in his gaze dissipates. It's replaced by something else. An assessment, perhaps even a hint of something that might pass for understanding. He looks at Mia again, but now he doesn't see an intruder, not a strange child in his home. He sees a girl caring for her sick mother, who fears hunger and eviction, who spent the entire day cleaning his house to save her family. Jin-El steps around the puddle of cocoa and the broken cup. He approaches the office window, looks out into the darkness of the garden, then turns back to Mia. His gaze becomes more focused, as if he's putting together the final pieces of a puzzle. Did you clean the conservatory today? The room with the big window and the plants? He asks. His voice is still even, but no longer has that oppressive calm. Now it's just a question. Mia, confused by this turn of events, nods. She wipes her face with the sleeve of her dress, leaving a wet streak on the fabric. There was a window open, Jin-Lee says. It's not a question, but a statement. It was closed. Did you do that? Mia feels her insides tighten again. She thinks she's made another mistake, broken another rule. She nods again, fearfully, bracing herself for a new wave of anger. Yes, she whispers. It was very cold there. I thought, she trails off, unsure how to explain this simple, homely gesture in a strange, cold house. Jin-El looks at her with a long, piercing gaze. He doesn't say a word. He just looks. And then there's a subtle change in his eyes. Something clicks. Elle's face freezes strangely. His gaze becomes sightless, staring somewhere past Mia, into the space behind her. He can't see her or his office now. A different picture rises before his mind's eye. Not this rich, quiet house. A small, cold apartment somewhere far away, in another city, in another life. Winter. A draft blew through the cracks in the old frames. His mother, tired after 2 jobs, coughed, wrapped in a worn robe. And he, a little boy, not Jin-Lee, but simply Jin, stuffed those cracks with newspapers. Then he brought her his baby blanket, the thickest one. Not because he was told to, but because it was cold for him to see how cold she was. A simple, childish impulse of care. This memory has long been buried deep. His life now operates by different rules. Strength, calculation, control. Such soft, useless feelings have no place there. They interfere. And now, in his office, looking at this strange, frightened girl who closed the window because it was cold, he suddenly feels again that old chill of the draft and the warmth of a child's blanket. He doesn't see a violation of his rule about fresh air. He sees the same gesture, across the years and distances, the gesture of a child trying to protect someone who is suffering from the cold. This simple act, which he shouldn't even have known about, suddenly makes Mia's whole story absolutely crystal clear and familiar to him. His face softens a little more, almost invisible to an outsider. But for him, it's a real earthquake in his soul. Jin-El turns away from Mia abruptly. It takes him a moment to wipe the unseemly expression off his face, to regain control. He approaches the desk again and picks up the phone. He pretends to look at the screen, but quickly dials a number using a single speed dial button. He turns toward the window so Mia can't see his face. He speaks a few phrases in Korean. His voice is quiet, quick, clipped. It's not the voice he used with her or her mother. It's a voice for his own. Commands are audible in it. Mia, still standing by the puddle, freezes. She doesn't understand a word, but the intonation. It's like the orders her mother gives her when she's really busy and needs to do a lot of things quickly. Bring, put it down, find out. Only this voice is 1,000 times more commanding. He doesn't speak for long. 10 seconds, no more. Then he puts the phone down. When he turns back, his face is once again completely calm and inscrutable. All traces of memory and inner turmoil have vanished. Before her is once again the master of the house, the man who makes decisions. Jin-El looks at Mia, then at the puddle on the floor. He ignores her. Instead, he walks to the office door and opens it. "Follow me," he says simply, and walks out into the hallway. He doesn't even look back to check if she's following. He's sure she'll obey. Mia, stunned by everything that's happening, takes a step automatically, then another. She avoids the puddle and the broken glass, and goes out into the hallway. She doesn't understand what's happening. Why isn't he screaming? Why isn't he throwing her out? Why isn't he calling the police? This quiet order frightens her even more. He leads her down the familiar hallway to the kitchen. He steps inside and gestures to one of the chairs at the simple work table. "Sit down," he says. "Wait here. Don't go." His tone is neither harsh nor soft. It's a statement of fact, an order that cannot be disobeyed. Mia sits on the edge of the chair. She places her hands on her knees and clasps them to keep them from shaking. She looks at him with wide eyes, filled with complete and utter bewilderment. The fear hasn't gone away. It's still as sharp and cold inside, but something new has been added to it, a complete loss of orientation. She can't predict what will happen next. None of the scenarios she's imagined in her head, a scream, a reprimand, a call to the police, her mother's tears, fit this quiet, strangely calm picture. She's sitting in the kitchen of a wealthy home, and the owner, who has just learned of a major deception, stands by the window, looking at his phone, as if solving some business problem. She doesn't know that he's given only 2 short commands over the phone. The first to his driver, "Be ready, we might be going." The second to his assistant, "Find the best family resort. Monthly, all-inclusive, book today, and have cash ready." Jin-El puts his phone down. He turns and looks at the girl huddled in the chair. He sees her fatigue, the dirt on the hem of her dress, the tear stains on her cheeks. He sees that same simple, vulnerable concern that made her close the window. And in his strict world, where everything has a price and a calculation, for a second, something arises that defies all calculation. A desire to simply correct one small, unfair situation, not out of pity, but out of respect for what he suddenly remembered with unexpected force, for the fact that once, a long time ago, he himself was that boy with the blanket. Silence in the kitchen stretches for several minutes. Mia sits motionless, listening to the clock tick, and Jin-El shuffling papers in the next room. Then his footsteps return to the kitchen. He approaches the desk. In his hand is a plain white business envelope. It's not thin, it's thick, with a crisp rectangular outline inside. Jin-El places the envelope on the desk in front of Mia. It hits the wooden tabletop with a soft but weighty thud. "It's for the doctor," Jin-El says, looking directly at her. His voice is even and matter-of-fact, as if he's discussing the details of a cleaning. And for the time your mom can't work, so you don't have to worry about money. He doesn't say, "It's a gift." He doesn't say, "Here you go." He talks about something settled and logical, as if it's simply the next step in the current situation. The envelope lies between them on the table. Mia looks at it, but doesn't see it. Her brain refuses to comprehend its significance. Her gaze slides from the envelope to the man's face, then back again. Mia's mind is blank. Then a thought pops into her head, but it's absurd. This is some kind of test. He's putting money in front of her to see if she'll take it, so he can accuse her of stealing, or maybe it's just payment for cleaning, after which he'll fire her mother anyway, and they'll be left without work, but at least with this money. But his face doesn't express cunning or malice. It's calm and serious. He waits, motionless. Mia slowly, as if through a thick fog, looks up at him. Her lips are moving, but no sound comes out. She looks at the envelope. Its corner is slightly folded. Through the paper, a thick wad of bills is visible. These aren't just 2 or 3 bills. This is something thick. Horror gradually gives way to another feeling. Not faith, but a stunning, deafening incomprehension. Why? For what? They deceived him. She broke his cup. She invaded his home under false pretenses. By all the laws of her world, there should be a punishment for this. A bad one. And not this. She's afraid to reach out. Afraid it's a mirage that will vanish at her touch. Afraid her fingers will stain the clean white envelope. She clenches her hands into fists under the table to keep them from shaking. Mia finally squeezes out in a whisper. Lee interrupts. His tone brooks no argument. Your mother is sick. She needs a doctor and peace. Not worrying about how to pay the rent. It's logical. He says it so simply, as if explaining the obvious. For him, perhaps that's the logic. You see a problem, you fix it. The most direct path. Before Mia can say anything or think further, Jin El makes another move. He turns to the counter where his leather briefcase lies. He opens it and takes out not documents, but a beautiful folder made of thick, embossed paper. It looks expensive and official. He places the folder on the table next to the envelope. "And this is for you and your mother," he says. And for the first time, there's something in his voice other than flat. Matter-of-factness. A light, barely perceptible tone, not warmth, but determination. "A trip, for a month, to the sea. Everything's already paid for. Accommodation, food, everything." Mia's gaze shifts from the envelope to the folder. Her mind finally refuses to function. You're firing us?" she asks quietly. It's the only explanation she can think of. He gives them money and sends them somewhere far away, never to be seen again. Jin El looks at her for a second, and something like a very faint, fleeting spark appears in the corners of his eyes, almost like surprise at her question. "No," he says firmly. "I'm giving your mother time to recover properly, and time for you to be a child, not a maid. You need to rest. Both of you. This is not an issue." He pronounced the last sentence as if it were an order, but an order for the greater good. He opened the folder. Inside were beautiful booklets with photographs of a sunny beach, palm trees, and a blue sea, and several official papers with seals. "It's all written there. When the flight is, when the transfer is. You just need to get ready," he says, closing the folder and placing it back in front of her. Now there are 2 objects on the table, a white envelope and a colorful folder. They don't fit into Mia's reality. They're like objects from a dream or a movie. They represent a doctor for Mom. They represent a lack of fear about tomorrow for a whole month. They represent sun and sea instead of dust and other people's dishes. Something inside Mia breaks. Not in a bad way, quite the opposite. That fragile, icy shell of fear and tension in which she's spent this entire endless day cracks. Then another, and crumbles. At first, tears simply start streaming from her eyes again, quietly. Then her chin begins to tremble traitorously. She bites her lip, trying to hold back, but it's no use. A huge, hot lump forms in her throat. She tries to swallow it, but she can't. She bows her head, and her long black hair falls forward, hiding her face. Her shoulders begin to shake, silently at first. Then the first broken, choking sob escapes. Then a second. She's not crying from grief. She's crying from shock, from unbearable relief. From the fact that the weight that had been pressing on her all these hours, no, all these months, has suddenly been lifted. Someone big and strong simply lifted it, and in its place, something warm and bright was placed. She tries to speak. She wants to say, "Thank you," but the words won't come out. Only sobs. muffled, childish, frantic sobs in which all her fear, all her fatigue, all her despair pours out. She cries for her mother, for herself, for the cold mornings and the empty refrigerator. She cries because someone saw not a liar, but simply a girl who tried very hard. She lowers her face onto the table, onto her crossed arms, and sobs. The envelope and folder lie next to her head. Jin-El doesn't move. He doesn't try to comfort her, doesn't put his hand on her shoulder. He simply stands and watches. His face is serious. He lets her cry. He understands that these tears are not weakness. They are cleansing. It is the only possible reaction to the incredible change in fate he has just brought about with one decision. He gives her time. When the sobs finally subside, turning into quiet whimpers, and then deep, ragged sighs, Mia looks up. Her face is swollen from tears. Her eyes are red. She shyly wipes her cheeks with the sleeve of her dress. Jin-El looks at her watch. Then she goes to the window overlooking the entrance and slightly opens the blinds. "The car's here," he says, turning around. "It'll take you home, and it'll help you carry your things if necessary." Mia looks at him, still in disbelief. She slowly, very carefully, as if she were handling a crystal vase, picks up the envelope and folder. They seem incredibly important to her, almost sacred. She clutches them to her chest. "Thank you," she finally breathes out. The word comes out hoarse, strangled, but painfully sincere. Jin-El simply nods slightly, accepting this gratitude as his due. He gestures towards the exit. "The driver is waiting. He will take you straight to your house. Don't turn off anywhere." Mia nods. She walks to the door and turns around on the threshold. Jin-El has already turned back to the window, his silhouette clearly visible against the dark glass. He doesn't look after her. It's done. She leaves through the back door. A large black car is parked in the yard by the porch. It looks very expensive and quiet. A man in dark clothes stands near the open back door. He nods silently, almost imperceptibly, to her. Mia approaches. She peers inside. Leather seats, cleanliness, silence. She's never sat in a car like this. She takes a timid step and climbs in. The seat is soft as a featherbed. The male driver quietly closes the door behind her. The sound is muffled, sealed. The car moves smoothly and silently drives through the gates, which open before her. Mia sits, clutching the envelope and folder, looking out the window at the fading lights of a strange, wealthy neighborhood. She's no longer crying. She simply sits in the warm, quiet capsule, taking her home, and feels the trembling that has plagued her all day finally, little by little, subside. It's replaced by a deep, all-consuming fatigue and one clear, distinct feeling. It's over. The most terrible day of her life ended not in disaster, but in something she still can't believe. The car rolls smoothly through the night streets, carrying her and two incredible gifts that will now change everything. The car stops in front of a familiar gray house. The driver opens the door for Mia. He nods silently, gets back in, and drives away, disappearing into the night. Mia stands in front of her door. She clutches an envelope and a folder. Her heart starts pounding again. Now comes the hardest part, explaining everything to her mother. She enters the apartment. Only one floor lamp is lit in the small living room. Ella is sitting in a chair, wrapped in a blanket. Her face is pale, her eyes are feverishly shining, but she is no longer lying down. She is waiting. Seeing her daughter, she tries to get up. "Mia! Where have you been? I've called 100 times." Her voice is hoarse from a cold and anxiety. Mia walks up and stops in front of her. She sees her mother's eyes glide over her face, red from tears, over her dirty, baggy dress, and stop at the objects in her hands. "Mom!" Mia begins, her voice trembling again. "I was there, at Mr. L's." Ella freezes. Her eyes grow huge. "What? How? Why?" she whispers, and Mia begins to tell her story. From the very beginning, how she heard her mother cough, how she made up her mind, how she entered the code, how he walked past and didn't notice her, how she cleaned up, how she almost dropped the figurine, how she closed the window, how she made cocoa and carried the tray, how he looked at her, how there was silence. Ella listens without interrupting. Her face expresses a whole range of emotions: horror, guilt, fear, pride. She clutches the edge of the blanket so tightly that her knuckles turn white. And then Mia gets to the most important thing. To the office, to the envelope, to the folder. She hands them to her mother. "He gave this," she says simply, "for the doctor and a voucher for a month to the sea for the two of us. He said, so that you would get well properly." Ella looks at the envelope and folder as if they were snakes. She takes them slowly, as if afraid they'll explode. She feels the weight of the envelope, sees the expensive paper of the folder, and then her face changes. Horror and gratitude give way to another feeling, mistrust. A sharp, chilling anxiety. Mia, she says very quietly and slowly. Mia, dear, you are very tired. You were so scared. You could have mixed something up. Maybe he just gave you money for today? For a taxi? And this? She touches the folder. Maybe this is some kind of advertisement? Did you take it from the desk? Mia feels her heart sink. No, Mom. It was just like that. He said so himself. It's a ticket. Look. But Ella shakes her head. Her eyes are full of tears. But now they are tears of pity and fear. Not for money, but for her daughter's sanity. Baby, people like that, they don't do that. They don't give vouchers to maids. You were probably so scared that you imagined it. Or maybe there was some kind of mistake. Tomorrow I'll call him. Explain everything. Give him his money back, if it really is money. Oh my God. She looks at the thick envelope, and a new panic grips her. What if this is some strange, incomprehensible payment for something? What if it's a trap? Her world, made up of hard work and constant struggle, has no room for such implausible gifts. For her, the only logical explanation is that her poor, overtired daughter messed something up or went into shock and made it all up. Mia looks at her mother, and her insides clench with despair. She's been through so much fear, accomplished such a feat, brought salvation, and yet her mother doesn't believe her. They sit like that in a painful silence. Ella holds the strange gifts in her hands, hesitating to open them. Mia looks at the floor, feeling her fragile happiness slipping away. At that moment, the phone rings. The sharp, ordinary ring of their home phone. They both jump. Ella looks at the device, then at her daughter. She slowly reaches over and picks it up. Hello? She says in her sick, hoarse voice. A smooth, polite, completely unfamiliar male voice sounds on the line. Good evening. This is a call from Mr. L.I. I'd like to clarify, please. Did the travel documents reach you in order? The folder with the turquoise cover? The voice speaks clearly, matter-of-factly, without emotion. It's the voice of an assistant, an administrator. Ella freezes. Her gaze slowly drifts to the colorful folder on her lap. The cover is indeed turquoise. Yes, she breathes out. The folder is here. Excellent, the voice says. All the information is inside. The flight departs tomorrow at 14:20 from the international terminal. A car will be arriving at 10 a.m. to take you to the airport. The driver will be waiting at the entrance. All you need to do is pack your things and have your passports with you. Everything else is arranged. Any questions? Ella can't utter a word. She simply listens to this measured, confident voice, which builds before her a reality she didn't believe in 5 minutes ago. No questions? Excellent. Enjoy your stay. There is a short beep. The other person has hung up. Ella slowly lowers the phone. She looks at it, then at the folder, then at her daughter's face. All her doubts, all her theories about stress and hallucinations are shattered by this short, dry official call. Mia sees her mother's expression change. It loses the frightened, distrustful line. It's replaced by stupefaction, pure, bottomless stupefaction. Ella opens the folder with trembling hands. Inside are more than just advertising brochures. There are actual airline tickets in their names. There are hotel vouchers with logos and stamps. There is a printed program, the guide's contact information, and insurance documents. Everything is on pristine paper. Everything is labeled with dates, names, and numbers. This smells not of a dream, but of reality. She opens the envelope. Inside is money, lots of money, a neat wad of crisp new bills. This isn't random cash from a pocket. This is money that someone prepared and placed in the envelope. She looks up at Mia. Now she looks at her with completely different eyes. She doesn't see a tired, confused child. She sees a girl who went alone into the lair of a man she considered terrifying, who did all the work, who stood up to him, and who did something that touched him, broke his usual cold logic. She doesn't know what exactly. Mia's story, her tears, or something else. But the result lies in her lap. He gave it to you himself, personally? Ella asks quietly. Mia nods. She feels the lump in her throat again, but this time with relief. Mom believes. Mom sees. He asked where you were. I said you were sick. He called to check on you. Then he asked about the window. I said I closed it because it was cold. He looked at me like this. Mia tries to explain the inexplicable, the moment when everything changed. Ella listens, and tears finally roll down her cheeks. But these are different tears. These are tears of shame for her mistrust, tears of incredible, crushing gratitude, and tears of pride, enormous, burning pride for her daughter. She puts down the folder and envelope, stands up unsteadily, and hugs Mia. Tightly, tightly. She feels her daughter's thin body instantly go limp in her arms, giving in to the full weight of fatigue. "Forgive me," Ella whispers into her hair. "Forgive me for not believing you. You're my hero. A real one." They stand like this in the center of the poor room, hugging, and on the table lie tickets to another life. That evening is unlike any other. At first, they simply sit in silence, occasionally exchanging glances. Then Ella carefully, as if she were trespassing, returns the tickets and vouchers to the folder. She puts the money in the safest place. They both feel as if a strange, brightly colored parrot has flown into the apartment, beautiful, incredible, and terrified that it will fly away. But there was a call. The papers are real. Ella suddenly gets up and goes to the kitchen. She opens the refrigerator. Inside, as usual, there's a little simple food: eggs, bread, cheese, a can of beans. Usually, she looked at it from the perspective of how many days it would last. Now, she looks at it differently. "You know what?" she says. And there's something new, light, almost unrecognizable in her voice. "Let's make some eggs, and with bread, and let's cut up a tomato. We already have one." She says this as if proposing a feast. In the past, tomatoes were preserved for several days, stretched out. Mia nods, and a smile, the first one she's seen all day, appears on her face. They prepare dinner together. Ella moves slowly. She's still weak, but she gets it done. They set 2 plates with fluffy scrambled eggs, slices of bread, and red tomato slices on the table. It looks like a feast. They eat, and throughout the entire dinner, they don't talk about money, bills, or work once. They talk about the sea, about how blue it must be, about how Mia has never seen the ocean, about how Ella has been to the beach once in her life, when she was little. The silence in the apartment is no longer tense and empty. It's calm, full. It lacks the usual tremors of fear about the future. There's only weariness from the experience, and a quiet, cautious wonder at the miracle. Before bed, Ella gives Mia a fever pill. The girl had developed a headache from exhaustion and stress that evening. They lie down in the same bed, as they often did when Mia was little and afraid of the dark. Ella hugs her daughter and strokes her long hair. "Sleep, darling," she whispers. "Everything is okay. Everything will be okay now." And Mia believes. She falls asleep almost instantly, in the warmth of her mother's arms, for the first time in months, not expecting tomorrow to bring new worries. The morning dawns sunny and clear. They wake up early. Ella still feels weak, but her eyes no longer have that painful haze. There's determination, and even a hint of excitement. They pack their things, 2 small bags, their best, albeit simple, dresses, swimsuits they've never worn, documents. At exactly 10 o'clock, as promised, the same black car was seen pulling up to their house through the window. The same driver got out and stood nearby, calmly waiting. Neighbors peer out of their windows, watching them go in amazement. Ella and Mia emerge from the building. Ella clutches her bag and folder of documents like an anchor. The driver silently opens the door for them and helps them place their bags. They get in. The smell of clean leather. Silence. The car starts moving. Mia presses her forehead against the cold glass and looks out over her neighborhood. The gray houses, the familiar store on the corner, the playground with its rusty swings. It all fades away, shrinking. She doesn't feel sad. She feels a slight dizziness, as if she's being lifted at high speed from the ground on which she stood so firmly and so heavily. These streets were her world, a world of struggle and fatigue, and now she's driving through it, towards something unfamiliar. The car pulls onto the wide highway leading to the airport. The cityscapes give way to others. Mia watches the lampposts, trees, and billboards flash by outside the window. She thinks about yesterday, about the big house, about Mr. L's face and the moment when he understood everything, about how he silently listened to her story. She still can't comprehend his actions, but she feels its weight, like the weight of that silver tray, only kinder. Ella sits nearby, also looking out the window. She holds her daughter's hand. Her fingers are warm and firm. They are silent. They don't need to talk. They are riding, just riding, together. And they have a whole month ahead of them, where there is no word must, only can. They can lie in the sun. They can swim in the sea. They can stop counting every penny. They can just be. The car smoothly enters the airport grounds. Enormous buildings, planes on the runway. Mia sees all this up close for the first time in her life. Her eyes widen with amazement. She lets go of her mother's hand and presses both palms to the glass. Fear and fatigue finally dissolve, giving way to a burning, impatient curiosity and anticipation. The adventure is just beginning. The plane, the airport, the foreign language, it all flies by like a dream. Then a man with a sign meets them, leads them into a car, and they drive along narrow roads amidst greenery and vibrant flowers. And here it is, the hotel, not huge and pompous, but cozy, white, with terraces descending to the water's edge. Their room is simple but bright, with a small balcony overlooking the endless blue. The first day, they do almost nothing. They just go out to the beach. The sand is fine and warm. Mia kicks off her sandals and runs to the water. She stops when the waves wash over her feet. The water is warm, gentle. She's never felt anything like this. She turns to face her mother. Ella is standing on the sand, squinting against the sun and smiling. A real, wide smile. That, too, hasn't happened in a long time. Ella recovers quickly. Color returns to her cheeks. The dark circles under her eyes disappear. She sleeps long and soundly, to the sound of the surf. She wakes not from anxiety, but to the sunlight and the chirping of birds. Their days are filled with simple, wonderful things. They eat fruit for breakfast, something they've never tasted before. They swim in the sea. Mia learns to swim, and Ella, waist-deep in water, laughs at her enthusiastic efforts. They lie on sun loungers, and Mia reads aloud from a book she borrowed from the hotel lobby. Ella simply listens, looking at the clouds. They are silent for a long time, but it's a good silence. It's filled with peace. Sometimes Ella looks at her daughter, tanned with sand in her wavy hair, and her eyes fill with tears. But these are tears of quiet joy. She strokes Mia's head, and Mia, almost falling asleep in the sun, snuggles into her palm. There's no dust from other people's shelves here, no fear of the bell, no heavy tray and trembling hands. There's only the sun warming her skin, and the sea washing away all weariness and bitterness. Ella inhales the salty air deeply, and it feels like, with each breath, she's exhaling an old, heavy life. A week of vacation had already passed. They had settled in, found their favorite spot on the beach, and said hello to a few other vacationers. One morning, returning from breakfast, they find an envelope on the room table. It must have been given to the maid by the hotel delivery service. It's plain, white, and unstamped. Only their names are written in a clear, unfamiliar handwriting. Ella takes it. She exchanges glances with Mia. For a moment, a shadow of the old worry flickers in her eyes. What if this is a mistake? What if this is all about to end? She opens the envelope. Inside is a single sheet of good, thick paper. It has just one line on it, typed, not handwritten. I hope you are having a good rest. D.L. Nothing more. No questions, no requests, no hint of debt or obligation. Simply a statement. And a signature, initialized. Ella stands and looks at this line. Then she hands the piece of paper to Mia. The girl reads it and looks up at her mother with wide eyes. He remembers, Mia says quietly, looking over those few words again. There's no warmth in them in the usual sense, but there's something very important in them. Attention. He didn't just send them here and forget about them. He knows they're here. He made sure they knew it. This is the gesture of a man who gets things done, who is in control, even while doing good. And in this gesture, Ella finally finds peace. This isn't a rich man's whim. It's a decision. It's already been made, fulfilled, and this letter is just the final point. Now she can stop fearing that the gift will be taken away. Yes, Ella finally says. Her voice is calm. He remembers. She carefully folds the letter and puts it in the side pocket of her bag, where the most important documents are kept. It's not necessary for rest, but it's important for the soul. As proof that all of this is not a dream, the rest of the day passes as usual. But Mia notices how her mother, sometimes looking out at the sea, touches that pocket of her bag, and a slight, almost imperceptible smile appears on her face. This letter became the key that finally unlocked the door to this month of peace for Ella. She allows herself to relax completely. The month passes incredibly quickly. They seize every moment of the last few days. The last sunset, the last swim at dawn, the last breakfast on the veranda overlooking the ocean. The return journey seems shorter. They fly home as different people. Their skin is tanned, their hair is sun-bleached, and a new look has appeared in their eyes. Not wariness, but rather a quiet confidence. They have experienced not only grief together, but also incredible kindness. It has changed them. The car meets them again at the airport. The road to their house no longer seems so drab. They see their neighborhood, but now they look at it from a slightly different perspective. It's still the same, but they're different. They climb the familiar stairs. The smell of dampness and old paint fills the air. Ella opens the door to their apartment with a soft sigh. It smells dusty and musty inside, but this is their home. They come in and put down their bags. And then Mia sees it. On the kitchen table, in the middle of the clean, empty surface, lies a single object. Not a letter, not an envelope. This is the key. A new, shiny steel key. A white cardboard tag is attached to it, and next to the key lies a business card. Simple, austere, without unnecessary details. There's no name, no job title, no phone number on it. Just one word, engraved in clear font. Thank you. Mia and Ella freeze at the table. They look at the key, then at each other. Ella slowly takes the key. It's heavy, cold. She takes the business card. The word thank you can be read the other way around, as gratitude, but it's addressed to them. He thanks them. What is this? Mia asks in a whisper. Ella turns over the tag attached to the key. There's an address written on it. Not their street. Another one. A nicer neighborhood, but not rich. Quiet. And an apartment number. She doesn't understand anything. She puts down the key and goes to check the mailbox. There's an official envelope from the rental agency. Ella opens it with trembling hands. Inside is a lease agreement. In her name, the address matches. The monthly rent. Ella peers at the numbers. It's significantly less than what they were paying here. But that's not the main point. Under terms, it's noted, paid 1 year in advance. Paid for a year in advance. Ella walks over to the chair and slowly sits down. The contract trembles in her hands. Mia asks anxiously, He rented us an apartment, Ella says quietly. A new one. Better than this one. And he paid for a whole year. She looks at the key, at the business card. Then she looks up at her daughter. And in that moment, all the pieces of the puzzle fall into place. His shock in the office, his question about the window, his decision to help, the trip, and now this. This isn't just charity, it's a system. It's a way to give them not just a fish, but a fishing rod and time to learn how to fish. A year in which Ella can work without fear of being thrown out on the street tomorrow. A year in which Mia can just go to school and be a child. A year of respite. A year of life. He thanks her. For what? For the truth? For caring about his mother? Because her actions and her story touched a chord in his soul, reminded him of something important? Ella doesn't know, and she probably never will. She stands up and takes the key. It warms in her palm. Let's go, she says to Mia. Where? Let's look at our new house. They go outside again, leaving the door of the old apartment open. They walk along familiar streets, then unfamiliar ones. They find a building. It's not new, but it's well maintained. The entrance is clean. They go up 1 floor. Ella inserts the key into the lock of the new, sturdy door. The key turns smoothly, with a soft click. They go inside. The apartment is empty, but bright. There are large windows. No dampness. No creaky floors. There is a larger kitchen. There is a separate room for Mia. They stand in the middle of an empty space, and this space is filled not with things, but with possibilities. The silence here is different, fresh, full of the future. Mia goes to the window in her new room. She looks out onto the street, at the trees, at the children playing in the yard below. She turns to face her mother. Ella is standing in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. But she's smiling. It's a smile of relief deeper than she's ever felt. She walks up to her daughter, puts her arm around her shoulders, and together they look out the window at their new life. They have a key in their pocket. On the table in their old apartment, there's a business card with 1 word on it. And ahead lies a whole year that belongs only to them. A year that began with the silence after a cough and ended with this quiet, solid click of a new lock. They are at home.